Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope you're all good. So, in this video, which is brought to you in association with an awesome amplifier company called MezzaBarba Custom Amplification. These guys are an Italian amplifier brand and the whole thing is hand-built. As you can see to my left, we're looking at the MZero Overdrive amplifier in this video. It's an absolute fire breather, full of gain, full of saturation for your proper shred fans. But I also know that it does some stunning push cleans, high dynamic sort of clean channels and crunch channels as well. So we're going to take a look at it and I'll just go over the features and then we're just going to hear loads of tones in this video. So as I said before, the MZero Overdrive is completely hand built. It's point to point, there's no PCB. We're running 4 EL34s in here, so we've got about 100 watts, maybe just a bit over. Even the transformers are custom, as you can see on the inside, they look absolutely beautiful. They're built by Massaad Guitar Devices, which I think is like a partner brand for these guys, so that's how they build everything proprietary. So the whole thing, as I said, hand-built custom. It looks badass as well. It reminds me of a Soldano SLO, very similar, but I think it's kind of based on that kind of thing, you know, with the Soldano being that full-on high-gain shredders amp. I think this is very much a similar thing. But yeah, one thing that I really like about this amplifier is the feedback control on the front. The feedback control changes the negative feedback of the amp, and you have it on the front, and it really does affect, you know, if you turn it all the way to the left, it becomes more of a vintage kind of feeling amp, and over to the right, it's a bit more roaring, sort of pronounced mid-range. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that control. So you can see on the sweeps how well built this thing looks. It's super sturdy looking. But in terms of features, you've got 2 drive channels. You've got drive and overdrive. Drive can be used as a clean. It also has the option of adding 2 boosts, one on front of the amp and one on a foot switch. And then you've also got a bright switch as well, if you want to brighten things up. You've got 3-band EQ, you've got presence and depth. And then, as I said, this feedback control, which looks amazing. And you've got independent volumes for both channels. So, of course, it's, you know, straight up 2-channel beast. I reckon it's going to sound fat, but we've also got an effects loop on the back and you've got a slave output with its own dedicated control as well. So that's really, really handy to have on the amp as well. So we're going to be running the MZero Overdrive into the aux box, where we'll be using a bit of reverb and delay as well where needed. And of course, I'm going to try out with a Strat and then something a bit more modern, humbucker guitar, so we can really hear what this amp can do. But I am very excited to get stuck in and show you the tones. So without further ado, this is the MezzaBarba Custom Amplification MZero Overdrive amplifier. Okay, let's start by checking out the clean channel. At the minute, I've got the drive, because it is essentially, you've got the drive and the overdrive channel. So I'm guessing that it's, you know, the jump from clean to crunch is going to be quite drastic. So I've got the drive kind of at 4, and I've basically got the volume running pretty high. So this is sort of clean sound we're getting. The reverb you're hearing is from aux. So obviously you can hear that it's very clean. It's quite a small sound, but if we push the drive up a bit, you hear it start to drive. So we back off the volume, boost the drive. So now that I've boosted the drive, you've heard that it's kind of lost a little bit of the top end. If I back it off and boost the volume, you hear it's a bit richer. So what you would do then is use the bright switch. It's a really nice sort of pushed clean sound. Really, really loads of dynamic range. And the cool thing is that we haven't even got any of the boosts going yet. So what I can try is use the foot switch boost first. That sounds great. It's almost like having like an overdrive pedal in front that you just stomp in. Well, obviously it's inside the amp. And obviously you can take down the brightness, just take the bright switch out. Feels really good. It sounds great. It's a really nice, just really great sounding amplifier so far. This is just the clean channel using the boost from the foot switch. And what I've noticed is it is actually different to the foot switch, to the switch on the amp. So check out the difference. So if we use, this is the boost on and off with the foot switch. And now if I do the difference between the boost here on the amp, completely different. It's way more gain. And then the boost on the amp. With the bright switch in. Now if we stack the boost on top of that, let's take the brightness out again, throw the boost on the foot switch. This is where we started without either boost engaged on that channel. If we back off a little bit of the drive, push the volume again. And then with both boosts in. I mean, it's providing a really fat sort of strat tone. And the thing is, I guess you kind of have to choose on the front of the amp if you're having the boost in or out, depending on the kind of gain structure of that channel, which I really like. It's a nice way of doing it. But anyway, let's move on to the overdrive channel. Okay, so now we've got a humbucker guitar and we're going to try the overdrive channel. I've switched over to it. I'll take the boost switch out, although I don't think it actually does anything on the overdrive channel, but in any case, it's just straight up overdrive channel. Everything's at 5 o'clock, as you can see, so here we go. Well, that is a thick overdrive. Yeah, it's quite nice and sort of chewy. It doesn't really, it's interesting it's EL34 amp, but it doesn't really feels more like a 6L6 kind of overdrive, like in the feel. So what I want to show you next is the feedback control, because the feedback is changing the negative feedback of the amp, but it's cool that it's on a control in the front. And it's quite an interesting control, because when you turn it all the way up, it's really edgy and there's a lot more sort of clarity and high mid presence. But when you turn it all the way the other way, it smoothens everything out, almost gets quieter in a sense. Let me show you what I mean. It's like almost like more mids, more pronounced fat mids. With more gain. So now if I turn it back to the middle, you notice it's different in the kind of purring tonality of the overdrive. When I turn it back up again, it's more just girthy, pronounced low mid range. Back to halfway. And then if I turn it down, it's almost choked in a way, but it feels very different when you're doing lead stuff. So if I go back to halfway, throw on some reverb and delay. And if I turn it all the way down, it's almost like more liquid. It's more saturated and compressed in a way. Right, all the way down. You can hear it's almost choked fully. Almost feels more old school in a way, like an old school high gain amp. Back at halfway, it suddenly opens out and becomes more modern. And then the extreme the other way. It's almost like super modern when you put it on full feedback. Maybe I wouldn't say modern, more so that it just clearer almost, and that's a characteristic of modern sort of guitar, high gain guitar. So the way I've set the amp up, or how I would set it up, is basically having a kind of push clean. Which if I wanted more gain on that channel, I'd just switch the boost in on the front panel. beautiful. And then straight over to overdrive for the full-on shreddy gain. So yeah, that's how I'd set up the amp. Fairly, I mean, the other thing to say is that everything's at 12 o'clock. Bass, middle and treble are at 12 o'clock. I've got a little bit of presence. The feedback's at 2, as you can see. It's just a really well-voiced amplifier. So yeah, that's how I'd set it up. I think it sounds great. Well, there you go. There is a look at the MZero Overdrive from MezzaBarba amplification, and I have to be honest, it was so much fun playing this amplifier. The amount of gain on tap is unreal. It's got a super dynamic sort of first gain stage channel or clean channel with the crunch and the boost pushed in. It sounds, yeah, I was really enjoying that with the Strat. Really enjoyed it with the in-between positions on my guitar. And then when you switch over to the overdrive, it is just that full-on. It reminds me of the Soldano SLO. It's got that same kind of chewy response when you dig in, but for leads, it's so nicely compressed. The way it feels on your fingers and the way it rings out notes is just lovely. Really pleasing amp to play. That's what I would say about it. It's a super pleasing sounding amp and feeling amp. Love the feedback control. I think that's really cool, and it really does shape the way the amp sort of feels as well. So I enjoy that feature. I think more amp builders should include something like that on their amps. It's a super easy amp to use. It's really easy to dial in a great tone. As you saw, I barely did anything to the EQ on the amp. It just works. I mean, that's what you get when you buy a hand-built point-to-point amplifier, you know. I mean, everything about it looks badass and it sounds fantastic. So complete thumbs up from me. If you're in the market for if you're a high gain player and you like shred and you like playing all that kind of stuff with a great clean as well, lots of options, and you're in the market for something a bit different, custom, hand built, then definitely check them out. But you know, that's the kind of thing you expect when you're paying top dollar. In any case, thank you for watching this video. Thank you to MezzaBarba for sending this over for me to try out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will link it in the description box as well. But until next time, I've been Rabea. Like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all very soon.